Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today I'm talking about the third album from Pretty Lights, Passing By Behind Your Eyes. So, you know how I kind of mentioned that when I went back into filling up the city skies for the first time in ages that I wasn't really expecting great results? Same went for this third album. And to be real, I was even less hyped for this one than I was for Filling Up the City Skies, as this one was always my least favorite of his four albums. I remember it being mainly similar material to the previous album, only not as many standouts, and with some bigger stinkers than last time. The songs that were good I remember being really good, but I also remember the songs that being bad also being really bad. But at the same time, Filling Up the City Skies also offered a lot more great material than I expected, including on songs I previously didn't like, such as The Time Has Come. I was cautious, but I jumped in regardless. And on first return listen, it was an even bigger disappointment than I had anticipated. There were basically only 3 songs out of 13 that I thought were any good. Songs which were previously huge favorites of mine suddenly did nothing for me, and everything carried a heavy feeling of it was truly gutting and depressing to get this little out of this old Pretty Lights album. The good news is that on a second return listen I was able to enjoy it more and got back into some old favorites, but I'm gonna have to be brutally honest and say this album for me is still a major disappointment in the Pretty Lights catalog. Now the experience I ended up getting I think was better than the one I expected. For instance, it did turn out that the tracks that I used to really dislike weren't even close to as bad as I remembered. I don't think the disparity between the good stuff and the bad stuff was really that drastic. The bad stuff is still fine. But by the same token, most of the songs that I liked also weren't as good as I remembered, and yeah, for the most part this album just kinda comes off as meh to me. I guess I can appreciate the fact that this album is much more cohesive than Filling Up the City Skies. It's mostly focused on the darker side of Pretty Lights, much grittier and urban tinged, and again, there's probably more synth work than sample work on here. I suppose it's a nice vibe, but first of all, I quite liked the wide variety that Filling Up the City Skies had to offer, and this one feels a little one-note to me. And second of all, I don't think this particular sound plays all that well to Pretty Lights' strengths. Or at the very least, it doesn't play towards the styles of Pretty Lights that I tend to enjoy the most. I'll start with the good stuff. I think there were really only 2 songs on here that I feel like I can say are, like, actually great. Stuff that are in upper tier Pretty Lights songs. And one of them wasn't even that good when I first came back to it, that one being Shortcut/Detour. I don't know what happened with that one. The immediate drop in quality was even bigger than that of My Other Love from the previous album. Shortcut Detour used to be easily my favorite song from the album, probably even in my top 10 favorite Pretty Lights tracks overall. But on first return listen I was just like, wait, what? This song is only okay? My whole life is a lie. Thankfully I came back to it again and was able to get into it just fine again, so that was a relief. But, I don't know, going from one of my favorite Pretty Lights songs ever to a non-standout was a drastic change and freaked me out, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. Even now, probably would not make my top 10 anymore, but it is basically the only song on this entire album that remotely focuses on down-tempo material, so it gets points for that. And it is more interesting than a lot of the tracks from Taking Up Your Precious Time, too. There's a few beat switch-ups, and they're all great. And the sad vibes are very nice. It's a worrying track, but I'm still going to call it one of my favorites. I think, though, for the spot of best song on this album, it's been dethroned by If I Could Feel Again. I remember this song winning major points with me when I saw that one Nostalgia Critic Todd in the Shadows crossover review of Joel Schumacher's adaptation of The Wiz. By the way, that video is back from the days when the Nostalgia Critic was actually funny and is just as good as it sounds, so maybe look it up if you haven't seen it. But anyway, they discussed a scene in that movie and how one song that appeared there really sucked because the actor couldn't sing, and I immediately recognized it as a Pretty Lights sample, and noticed how not only did I not mind the original because of him, I also liked If I Could Feel Again even more after discovering that sample because my god does he nail this hook out of the park. It's a ton of fun to listen to, and is my current favorite from this album. And as for the other good songs, Some Days Every Day and Fly Away Another Day are, they're pretty repetitive, and aren't the guy's most interesting songs, but they are the other two songs I liked from this album on first return listen. The former has this really nice piano hook that I never really got sick of, and the latter has some of the guy's most fun synth work. I've noticed that whenever Pretty Lights can combine a synth work with a good sample hook, even if only like one, as was the case here, then it's enough to make the dubstep fun as well, and Fly Away Another Day is a prime example. Again, the piano hook at the beginning is awesome, and even though he only plays it straight for like 20 seconds, before going all out dubstep for the rest of the song, I found myself continually captivated by the track the whole time. Are these two songs great? Probably not, but they are definitely highlights on this album. There were two more songs that I thought were also pretty decently enjoyable too. One was Lonesome Street, which had a great hook, but wasn't the kind of track I could listen to twice consecutively. And the other track was Sunday School, the only Pretty Lights song ever to be marked on iTunes as explicit, thanks to the repeating, "Fuck 'em, I didn't want to go to heaven anyway" sample. Is definitely interesting, and that one line certainly conveys the mood of the song pretty well, but though again, not the kind of thing I'd want to listen to repeatedly. Also, the track Dark as the Sky is pretty interesting too. This one was actually co-produced by Michael Menert, and to be honest, does not show either of them at their best. The song really only works with me when I'm able to listen to it at home and soak up every sound that's playing, and even then, it's a little one-note and meandering and not very catchy. But it is interesting to listen to, and has a nice atmosphere. I'll give this track a pass. It can be a real standout occasionally. Unfortunately, that's about where my enthusiasm for this album ends. Granted, I think the closest I came to outright disliking a track from this album at this point is the opener, World of Illusion. I really don't care for the chipmunk vocals in that one part of the hook, but on the other hand, I think I did used to kind of like this track at one point, so I don't know what to tell you. The rest is just mainly okay. The track Can't Stop Me Now has a catchy hook that refuses to particularly connect with me. Songs like Let 'Em Know It's Time to Go and Ask Your Friends are completely forgettable for whatever reason. And there's songs that focus entirely on the guy's dubstep chops, like City of One and Keep 'Em Bouncin'. The former tries to pull off the same trick as Fly Away Another Day and attach it to a hook to keep it memorable, but that hook unfortunately isn't that good. It's a really quick one too, doesn't last long enough. And Keep 'Em Bouncin' doesn't really even have a hook. It's basically just all synth work. I remember seeing this one live at that one concert I went to, and starting to think, I kinda wanna go home now. But listening to it now, it's a lot better than I remembered. Hardly a great song or a favorite in any way, but not bad at all. By the way, I don't really like how Pretty Lights finished off the album with two of the weaker tracks on here. Leaving on Ask Your Friends in particular only just solidifies what a big disappointment this album was overall. Yeah, I really wanted to like this one more than I did. Now, I think my perspective on this album is heavily skewed thanks to that period in high school where I overplayed Pretty Lights and drove all his material into the ground, and maybe I'm just biased because I want to prove to myself that I'm a smarter music critic now. But that doesn't feel totally right for me, especially here. I think I can still recommend this one to anyone who's interested in Pretty Lights. It offers a good variety of material, and if you like the guy's other stuff, you'll probably like this too. It's just kind of worn down for me. In addition, there is an album that I know of that goes for kind of a similar atmosphere, that whole dark electronic dubstep meets down and dirty hip-hop, urban atmosphere kind of stuff, and pulls it off to way better effect than Pretty Lights did himself. And that album would be Seven Bridges by Break Science, which some people may remember as my number 100 favorite album of all time from that list that I made a while ago. I think that album tries for a lot of the same sounds as this one and is a lot more fun to listen to and more memorable. While this one is just a collection of 13 mostly decent Pretty Lights tracks that don't reveal anything new about the guy to me that I didn't know before. So go check out Seven Bridges. Otherwise, passing by Behind Your Eyes is fine, and I'll still give it my recommendation. There's still some good stuff in here that's worth checking out. But I think I've made it to the point where I personally never really need to hear this one again all the way through. I'm overall feeling a 6.7 out of 10. But of course, this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it. But I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave the comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.